Every day, without saying a single word, your home is broadcasting powerful messages to the universe. Messages about who you are, what you value, and how ready you are to receive abundance, peace, and success. You might not realize it, but one small, almost invisible choice you make daily could be distorting that message. It's not the color of your walls. It's not the furniture you bought. It's the way your car sits outside your door, quietly speaking volumes about the energy you invite or block from entering your life. Most people never stop to think about how something as ordinary as parking their car could create invisible ripples across their finances, their health, their relationships. Yet according to timeless feng shui principles, the way you position your car in relation to your home can either magnify the flow of blessings or slowly siphon them away. When your car points aggressively at the front door, it creates a silent clash, a collision between personal energy and universal opportunity. And the effects, though subtle at first, compound day by day until stagnation, stress, and unexpected misfortune seem to creep in from nowhere. Today, I want to pull back the curtain and reveal how such a small shift, changing the direction your car faces, can trigger a massive shift in your life. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly why this one adjustment can protect your emotional stability, open pathways to greater prosperity, and restore harmony to your personal and professional worlds. Tiny movements, when made with the right awareness, can realign your entire destiny. At New Day Mindfulness, we believe in honoring the sacred spaces we inhabit, not through superstition or fear, but through wisdom and intention. When you treat your home as a living, breathing extension of your highest aspirations, the universe responds in kind. Small choices shape big destinies. And today I'll show you how one of the smallest, parking your car thoughtfully, can open doors you didn't even know were closed. Before we dive deeper, I would be incredibly grateful if you could take a moment to support this journey. Please consider giving this video a like, sharing it with someone you care about, and subscribing to New Day Mindfulness. Every like, every comment, and every new subscriber helps me reach my goal of 1,000 followers. It strengthens this community and allows me to create even more content to guide you in building an environment that supports your wealth, health, and inner peace naturally, without forcing or chasing. If this message speaks to something inside you, even just a whisper, know that your support today plants the seeds for even greater teachings tomorrow. Now let's step into the deeper layers of energy that shape our daily lives. Let's explore how the way you park your car might be either aligning you with effortless growth or unintentionally pushing good fortune out of reach. The sacred mouth of energy. In traditional feng shui philosophy, the front door of a home is far more than a practical point of entry. It is revered as the mouth of qi, the vital gateway through which life force energy flows into the household. Qi, the unseen but powerful force that animates all life, enters through the front door and spreads throughout the rooms like blood circulating through the arteries of a living organism. Without a clear, welcoming, unobstructed front entrance, the household's connection to prosperity, vitality, emotional stability, and opportunity weakens significantly. Much like the human body depends on its ability to breathe freely to sustain life, a home depends on the clarity of its entrance to sustain the flow of blessings and fortune. If you imagine the home as a living body, the front door is its mouth, and you would never consider placing a heavy object directly against your own mouth to block your breathing. Doing so would cause suffocation, fatigue, disorientation, and ultimately severe damage to your physical well-being. In the same way, obstructing the front door energetically suffocates the house, leading to a gradual but serious decline in the quality of life inside it. When qi cannot enter freely, the entire environment begins to suffer from energetic malnutrition. At first, the symptoms may be subtle: a slight sense of restlessness, minor financial shortfalls, occasional miscommunications between household members. Over time, however, the effects compound, leading to stagnation across all major areas of life. Financial leaks become more apparent as opportunities seem harder to capture and expenses seem to multiply. Emotional disharmony grows, often without any clear external cause, as relationships inside the home strain under invisible pressures. creativity dries up, sleep becomes less restful, and a subtle but persistent feeling of heaviness hangs in the air. The home loses its sense of being a sanctuary and instead becomes a place of quiet tension and energetic depletion. It is important to understand that these disturbances rarely manifest in dramatic, easily noticeable ways at first. Rather, they build slowly, layer by layer, like dust accumulating in an unattended corner. What begins as a minor obstruction can eventually transform into a major energetic blockage that affects every aspect of the occupants' lives. Subtle energies, when left unaddressed, do not remain static. They either build positively or erode negatively, but they are always moving, shaping the experience of daily living in profound ways. Therefore, maintaining the front entrance as an open, clear, and energetically inviting space is not a trivial aesthetic concern. It is a fundamental practice for safeguarding the health, prosperity, and emotional harmony of everyone who calls that space home. The energetic clash. What happens when your car faces the door? When a car is parked directly facing the front door of a home, the energetic clash it creates is not just a surface-level disturbance. It penetrates into the very core of the household's ability to thrive. In classical feng shui, the concept of sha-qi, or killing energy, describes forms of sharp, aggressive, or rushing energy that pierce and disrupt the natural flow of beneficial qi. A car facing directly at the front door acts as a modern embodiment of this ancient danger. Its metallic body, its pointed, forward-thrusting design, and its sheer symbolic force project an invisible but potent form of energetic aggression straight into the place where your life energy is meant to be received, nourished, and circulated. Every time you leave a vehicle in that position, you are metaphorically slamming the energetic gates against blessings that are trying to flow into your life. From a deeper interpretive view rooted in Buddhist philosophy, the damage is not merely symbolic but karmic. In Buddhist teachings, the home is considered an extension of one's karmic field, a sacred space where intentions, actions, and results are incubated and manifested. The front door, known metaphorically as the mouth of the house, operates much like the human mouth. It receives nourishment and breath necessary for sustaining life. Parking a car aggressively at this sacred threshold is akin to placing a heavy obstacle directly against your own mouth, impairing your ability to breathe, speak, and receive sustenance. The consequence is not only the stagnation of vital life force, QE, but the severing of the flow of merit, Fuk, the subtle accumulation of blessings generated by good deeds, right thought, and compassionate action. Without a clear, welcoming entry point, merit cannot settle. It circles, it hesitates, and ultimately, it moves elsewhere. This severing effect is often invisible at first, but devastating over time. Individuals living in such homes may find that despite sincere effort and good intentions, financial breakthroughs remain elusive, career advancements are delayed or blocked, relationships experience unnecessary friction, and a subtle yet persistent fatigue colors daily life. Health, too, is impacted. In many feng shui case studies, homes afflicted by aggressive energy at the front entrance often correspond with residents experiencing respiratory issues, anxiety disorders, or chronic exhaustion, physical reflections of the house's impaired energetic breathing. Expanding further, consider the psychological ramifications. When the energetic flow into a home is constantly under assault, the occupants' subconscious minds respond by activating chronic stress responses. Without realizing it, residents may experience heightened vigilance, emotional reactivity, irritability, and a general sense of unease in what should be their place of refuge. The home becomes less a sanctuary and more a subtle battlefield, and life outside the home mirrors that internalized conflict, strained workplace interactions, deteriorating friendships, and a general sense of being out of sync with life's natural opportunities. The case of the small restaurant owner serves as a clear and relatable example. His food was excellent, his service was heartfelt, and his commitment unwavering. Yet something intangible repelled customers. Despite his marketing efforts, loyalty programs, and heartfelt community engagement, the slow decline seemed unstoppable. It wasn't until a feng shui consultant visited and noticed the truck, parked aggressively, facing the entrance every day, that the hidden pattern became visible. The truck, intended for convenience, had become a barrier, symbolically attacking new energy, new customers, and financial flow before they could even enter. After simply repositioning the truck to a gentle side angle, not pointed at the entrance but complementing the building's energetic flow, the change was swift and remarkable. Customers returned, referrals increased, and the atmosphere inside the restaurant felt lighter, more welcoming. His income recovered not because he worked harder, but because the environment finally worked with him instead of against him. This story is not an isolated anecdote. It reflects a universal principle that transcends culture and era. Your environment is either amplifying your merit and blessings or quietly eroding them. In both Feng Shui and Buddhist insight, it is understood that merit must be invited, welcomed, and protected. It is a living, dynamic force, sensitive to the signals you send through your surroundings. When you create a space that energetically says, "You are welcome here," the universe responds with opportunities, support, and grace. When you unknowingly create a battlefield at your threshold, the universe, respecting your signals, withholds its gifts or redirects them elsewhere. In practical, energetic terms, a car facing the door aggressively acts like a battering ram to your home's field of influence. It accelerates the natural dissipation of good energy, causing your wealth to leak, your health to deteriorate, and your relationships to weaken, often without any direct, obvious cause you can point to. When prosperity feels like sand slipping through your fingers, no matter how tightly you try to hold on, it is often because unseen energetic disturbances, like this one, have quietly hollowed out the foundation where abundance is supposed to anchor. Understanding this, the solution becomes not just a matter of physical adjustment, but a profound act of respect toward your own destiny. Moving your car, softening the approach to your sacred entrance, is a physical prayer, a gesture of readiness, of humility, and of alignment. It is an invitation to the forces of prosperity to enter, stay, and flourish. It is the first step toward not merely avoiding loss, but actively cultivating a life where blessings arrive naturally, effortlessly, and in abundance. Symptoms you might notice without realizing. When the flow of energy at the entrance of your home is blocked, the symptoms that appear in your life are not random inconveniences. They are intelligent reflections of a deeper imbalance, a misalignment between your internal intentions and the external field that is supposed to nurture them. One of the earliest signs is a subtle yet persistent feeling of pushing against the current. Tasks that once felt effortless start to require more energy. You find yourself encountering strange delays, misunderstandings, small accidents, in a general sense that life is dragging you rather than carrying you. This is not bad luck. This is what happens when the natural flow of qi, which should be feeding your endeavors, instead gets deflected or dissipated before it even crosses your threshold. In traditional feng shui, the front door is not just where people enter, it is where opportunity, reputation, health, and fortune enter. If the energy arriving at this sacred gateway is met by an obstacle, an aggressive force like a vehicle pointing directly at it, the subtle message to the universe is, "Stop here. Do not proceed further." And the universe listens. Over time, opportunities that once seemed certain mysteriously vanish. Partnerships that felt promising fall apart. Creative ideas dry up before they can be executed. Financial resources become harder to gather and easier to lose. The emotional and relational symptoms are even more insidious because they creep in undetected. Relationships within the home can start to feel strained for no clear reason. Arguments arise over trivial matters. Trust erodes subtly, not because of betrayal, but because the energetic safety net that once made communication easy has frayed. Family members may feel more restless, less affectionate, or emotionally unavailable. In some cases, even the animals in the home display heightened anxiety or unexpected health problems. Energy, when blocked, seeks release elsewhere and often expresses itself through emotional volatility or physical breakdowns. From a broader energetic perspective, the household becomes a closed system, recycling stale energy rather than drawing in new vitality. Think of a pond that is no longer fed by a fresh stream. The water grows still, heavy, clouded. The life it supports diminishes. A home without flowing qi mirrors this condition. Sleep patterns may suffer, dreams become more restless or disturbing, motivation wanes, creativity dries up, a sense of isolation sets in even among those living together. Depression, anxiety, and a vague sense of dissatisfaction become common companions. And because these symptoms emerge gradually, it's easy to normalize them, to assume this is just how life is now without realizing that the root cause may be environmental and entirely changeable. Buddhist philosophy offers a profound lens through which to view this phenomenon. It teaches that merit and blessings are like seeds carried by the wind. They settle and sprout where conditions are fertile and welcoming. If your home is energetically blocked, those seeds of opportunity are scattered elsewhere, finding more receptive ground. This is not a punishment. It is the natural law of cause and effect, karma, playing out across the fabric of your lived experience. You may be working diligently, practicing kindness, building good karma, but if the field into which your blessings are trying to land is energetically hostile or closed, their manifestation will be delayed or diverted. From a contemporary lens, neuroscience and environmental psychology offer similar insights. Studies show that cluttered, disorganized, or energetically tense environments elevate cortisol levels, impair memory formation, and increase anxiety. A car aggressively confronting your front door might seem benign visually, but to your subconscious mind, the ancient, intuitive part of you, it registers as a threat. Every time you walk past it, your body receives a subtle stress signal, a tightening of the chest, a microtension in the jaw, a shallow breath. Over months and years, these micro-stresses compound, shaping your health, your relationships, and your resilience in ways you might never consciously trace back to the simple act of how you arrange your home. Thus, recognizing and addressing these symptoms early is not just about improving your immediate comfort. It is about protecting your long-term vitality, mental clarity, emotional harmony, and spiritual growth. Every time you clear a path for energy to flow freely into your home, you are, at a deeper level, clearing a path for abundance, peace, and fulfillment to enter your life. The gentle truth is that environments do not lie. They faithfully reflect our internal states and silently instruct the universe on how to treat us. By adjusting the subtle messages embedded in your home, beginning with something as humble yet powerful as how you park your car, you send out a new signal. I am open, I am ready, I am aligned with growth. And the universe, responding as it always does to clarity and intention, will begin to align new blessings in your path. How to correct the energy flow? Correcting the energy flow at your front entrance is a profound act of reclaiming your relationship with prosperity, harmony, and peace. Small, thoughtful adjustments in how you interact with your space create a ripple effect that transforms not just the way your home feels, but the way your life unfolds. Here's how you can begin realigning your external environment to support your highest intentions. 1. Adjust parking direction. Park sideways or at a gentle angle, not directly head-on to the door. The very first step toward restoring balance is to change the way your car is positioned relative to your front door. Rather than allowing the sharp, aggressive poison arrow of the car's front to attack the entrance, soften the energy by parking at a gentle angle or parallel to the door whenever possible. Even a slight shift in direction changes the energetic posture from confrontation to invitation. Think of your car not as a static object, but as a symbol. It represents your movement, your ambitions, your worldly interactions. When parked thoughtfully, it stands as a respectful companion to your home's energy, allowing qi to approach gently and flow inward without resistance. Over time, this simple realignment creates an environment where opportunities feel welcome rather than repelled, and where emotional and financial stability have a chance to take deeper root. 2. Introduce soft energy buffers. Place potted plants, gentle lighting, or symbolic barriers that soothe aggressive lines. Sometimes physical constraints make it difficult to adjust the parking direction perfectly. In such cases, you can still protect your home's energetic integrity by introducing soft, natural barriers between the car and the door. Potted plants, especially those with rounded leaves like money trees or jade plants, act as natural absorbers and diffusers of harsh energy. Position them strategically to create a gentle screen, softening the visual and energetic impact. Similarly, warm lighting, such as lanterns with a soft glow, can create an energetic welcome mat that guides and soothes incoming qi. Other symbolic buffers might include low stone walls, bamboo screens, or artistic sculptures placed with intention. Remember, the goal is not to block vision completely, but to temper the aggressive line so that energy meanders gracefully toward your door rather than crashing into it. 3. Energetic shields. Hang a small but meaningful feng shui cure, e.g. a bagua mirror or protective gourd, but only with clear intent, not superstition. In traditional feng shui, certain tools have been used for centuries to harmonize and redirect difficult energy. A convex bagua mirror, when properly positioned above the door, can deflect and neutralize harsh incoming forces without absorbing them into your living space. Another powerful symbol is the wu lu, a gourd-shaped object representing health and abundance, which can absorb and transform negative energy into blessings. However, it is vital to remember that these items are not magical objects that work automatically. They are physical extensions of your intention. Without clear respect, gratitude, and mindful placement, they lose their potency. Use them not out of fear or blind ritual, but as conscious acts of energetic stewardship, reinforcing your role as the guardian of your home's sacred boundary. 4. Car maintenance rituals. Keep the car clean and energetically light. Cluttered, dirty vehicles anchor negative chi and amplify problems. Your car is more than a transportation tool. It is an energetic extension of your personal field. A car burdened with trash, neglected maintenance, or chaotic disorganization becomes a magnet for stagnant and disruptive energy. It mirrors internal chaos back to you and amplifies the very friction you are trying to eliminate. Regularly clean both the interior and exterior of your vehicle, not just for aesthetics, but as an energetic hygiene practice. Remove unnecessary items, wipe down surfaces with care, and occasionally cleanse the car's energy with fresh air, incense, or even sound vibrations like a simple tuning fork. A clean, energetically clear car sends a message to the universe that you are ready to move through life's pathways with clarity, dignity, and purpose. 5. Visualize energy flow. Before parking each day, pause for a few seconds and mentally invite abundance into your home. Finally, cultivate a conscious, living relationship with your environment through visualization. Before you park your car, whether at home, at work, or elsewhere, pause for a brief moment. Close your eyes if possible, breathe deeply, and imagine your home as a bright, open vessel welcoming fresh, vibrant life energy. Visualize streams of golden light flowing toward your front door, carrying prosperity, health, love, and inspiration with them. See the car positioned respectfully, allowing the currents of fortune to enter without obstruction. This simple daily ritual only takes seconds, but rewires your relationship with your surroundings at the most fundamental level. When you interact with your environment with reverence, the environment responds by aligning itself with your highest good. Your home ceases to be a passive shelter and becomes an active, living temple, a magnet for all the blessings you are ready to receive. A world-famous example, Warren Buffett is often celebrated for his extraordinary financial wisdom, his unparalleled investment acumen, and his uncanny ability to see long-term value where others only saw noise. But what is far less frequently discussed, and perhaps even more profound, is the philosophy of intentional simplicity that underpins not just his business practices, but his entire way of living. Beyond the numbers and market strategies, Buffett has cultivated an environment that mirrors and reinforces the clarity, the patience, and focus that made him one of the most successful individuals in modern history. Despite possessing wealth that could buy virtually anything, Buffett has famously lived for decades in the same modest house he purchased in Omaha, Nebraska in 1958 for $31,500. He has resisted the temptation to upgrade to a lavish mansion, even as his net worth soared into the tens of billions. His office is equally unpretentious. No sprawling glass skyscraper, no army of personal assistants buzzing around. Instead, it is a simple, uncluttered space filled only with what he needs: a desk, a few chairs, a stack of neatly organized papers, and an air of deliberate calm. Buffett has often spoken about how important it is to remove unnecessary complexity from decision-making, to maintain spaces that support rather than distract. This physical simplicity is not an accident. It is a conscious strategy. From a Feng Shui perspective, Buffett's approach reflects masterful energy management. His living and working environments embody the principle that clear, open spaces invite clarity of mind, while cluttered, chaotic spaces generate confusion, anxiety, and misaligned action. In Feng Shui, open space is considered precious because it allows qi, the vital life energy, to circulate freely, feeding growth, prosperity, and insight. When energy can move effortlessly, creativity and good fortune naturally follow. Buffett's surroundings allow him to tune into opportunities others miss because his energy is not scattered or trapped by clutter. His physical world supports his internal world, amplifying his natural strengths instead of diluting them. Buffett's discipline extends even to his daily routines. He is known for eating simple meals, driving himself to work, and reading for hours each day, undisturbed by the noise of unnecessary engagements. His schedule is famously sparse compared to the frantic calendars of other CEOs. This space, literal and metaphorical, is his secret weapon. It gives him time to think, to process, to see connections invisible to those caught in endless busyness. Just as Feng Shui teaches that space must be created intentionally for blessings to arrive, Buffett creates time and mental space for extraordinary insights to emerge. The lesson here is not that everyone should live in a small house or eat at fast food restaurants, like Buffett sometimes does. It is that true wealth, both material and spiritual, flows most easily toward those who create clear, welcoming environments for it, environments free of energetic noise, clutter, and forceful blockages. Whether it's the way you arrange your front door, the way you maintain your car, or the way you curate your living room, the principle remains the same. When your external world reflects order, openness, and respect, your internal world mirrors it, and the universe responds in kind. Buffett's story reminds us that success is not just the result of brilliant ideas or relentless hustle. It is the natural outcome of living in harmony with clear, focused energy. He didn't just master markets, he mastered space. He didn't just manage money, he managed energy. And in doing so, he became a living example of one of Feng Shui's most enduring truths. Those who respect the unseen forces shaping life will inevitably shape life on their own terms. Final true prosperity is not an accident. It does not appear magically one day, nor is it granted only to a chosen few. Wealth, happiness, peace, these are cultivated through daily, almost invisible acts of respect, intention, and care for the spaces we inhabit and the energy we allow to flow through them. Every object you place, every habit you maintain, every choice you make about your environment either nurtures the life you are building or slowly drains it away. When you treat your home not merely as a shelter, but as a living partner in your journey, when you respect its energy and its silent dialogue with the universe, you create conditions where blessings are not just possible, they are inevitable. Tonight, I offer you a gentle invitation. Step outside your home, even for a moment. Look at the space between your front door and your car. Feel the energy between them. Is your car positioned in a way that helps you breathe in new opportunities, welcoming fresh prosperity and growth into your life? Or is it unknowingly acting as a silent barrier, pushing good fortune away before it even has a chance to knock at your door? Sometimes the most powerful transformations begin with the smallest acts of awareness. If this message has resonated with you today, I warmly invite you to take one simple action. Choose one adjustment. Maybe it's parking your car at a softer angle. Maybe it's clearing an old object from your front steps. And feel the shift it creates, not just in your space, but in your heart. I would love for you to share your experience in the comments below. Let me know. What small step are you taking today to welcome better energy into your life? Your story could inspire someone else to begin their own beautiful journey toward greater alignment, prosperity, and peace. And if this video has brought even a flicker of inspiration or clarity into your day, I gently invite you to like this video. Share it with someone you care about, and then subscribing to New Day Mindfulness. Every like, every comment, every new subscriber brings us closer to reaching our first 1,000 followers. A milestone that will allow me to continue creating and sharing even more high-quality, heart-centered content to support your path. Your presence here matters. Your actions matter. Your energy matters. Together, let's keep creating spaces inside and out where life's greatest blessings feel welcomed, honored, and free to flourish.